Hey guys, so today we are going to be talking about Mercury retrograde. Okay, I kid. But Mercury is retrograde when I'm filming this, so Men's is playing with my life a little bit, but we move. No, today we're gonna be talking about why we personify the divine, right? The divine, the universe, deity, God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. This is what we're going to be talking about. Before I get into it, if you are looking for resources to kind of like dig deeper into this topic, the book that I've been reading is The Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell, and someone who has an extensive amount of knowledge when it comes to this topic is a YouTuber called Maddox, and you should go check her out. She is amazing. But anyways, I was reading this book, right? I've been reading it for a while, and I was just sitting there and I'm like, why is it so important to us as human beings to give a face to the name of the divine? You know what I mean? Why is that important? Why do we look for it? Why do we create all these different aspects of the divine and kind of look for that thing, that connection? And that's actually the reasons that I came up with, is we're looking for relevance and we're looking for a connection, right? Now, I'm not saying that this is everybody's experience and what everybody is looking for. At the end of the day, we all got our own things, we all looking for our own thing, and connecting to the divine is no different, right? But on the topic of relevance, I was like, why is this so important? Why is it so important for the divine to be relevant? And I'm like, one thing that we can be sure of is spirituality is booming. Neptune is in Pisces as we speak. Like, spirituality is like big, it's grandiose, right? And it's one thing to kind of like talk, right? Talk about your philosophy, talk about your ideas and how you perceive the divine, right? It's one thing to share it with other people. But now you come to that point of asking yourself the real hard questions. How are you relevant to my experience as a human being? That is what it comes down to. And it's kind of like, okay, yes, I connect with you on an intellectual and mental level. Yes, I can see how you're playing out in the world, but how does this all apply to me? Why should I care about you? When the divine is kind of this idea that we can't connect with. It's like that CEO who stays behind the door. We don't really know if you exist. We don't really know if you're there. Therefore, I can do what I want and be like, the boss won't see me. The boss won't see me. The boss won't see me. And it's like when the divine does come down and it's like, hey, you're kind of just like, dude, now you come. And it's kind of like, I'm saying it's kind of like a lot. It's like, why are you only coming down for the big things? Why aren't you playing out in my day-to-day life? How am I seeing you in my day-to-day life when I'm just chilling at home? How are you interacting with me on a very personal level? Why should I care? Why are you relevant? And when the divine does become that big CEO behind the door, I feel like now as human beings, we kind of look for other mediums or beings to kind of intersect our connection with the divine, right? And this isn't good or bad. At the end of the day, it is what it is, And I am not there to kind of like play down someone else's experience. But this type of experience can help or hinder you. That is what the Hierophant is about. It's one way of looking at the Hierophant card as this being a medium between you and the divine, providing you with a structure in order to interact with the divine. And we can form this level of dependency when it comes to that, because now it's like, I don't really know what the divine is like. I don't really know what the divine wants, so I'm just gonna like go to you, and then you go and tell me what the divine wants, and then I'm gonna do it. But then when someone asks you, okay, the divine, how did they help you? And you'll be like, no, but this person or this being, you know. Dang. You know, it when we kind of, now I'm kind of like getting into the realm of connection, right? And kind of bringing the divine down, even though I felt like I was doing that already. It's like we fail to see the divine within ourselves when we can't put a face to the name. Now I don't know how to connect with you. Now I don't know how to build a relationship with you. Now I don't know how your needs and my needs are able to coexist, and how we can compromise and really build something of substance. That is what it's like when you can't connect with the divine. It's like I can't see the divinity within myself. And we're told that God is within us. But what does it look like? How is it relevant? Where's the connection? Those are the questions we ask. And if you're not asking them, then maybe that's kind of why you're drawn to working with deity or the divine, and why you find yourself putting a face to the name, connecting with myths and legends. It's because there is this part of you that wants to connect with the divine and wants to build something with the divine, but it may feel like your need to put a face is like limiting you. And I don't think that's the case. You know, at the end of the day, connecting with the divine is more than just a philosophy of life. A philosophy of life is nothing if you can't work with it in your day-to-day life. You need to practice what you preach. You know what I mean? And before I conclude, because this just popped up, before I like end this, it just like clicked that, you know, connecting with the divine doesn't look one way for everyone. You know, personifying the divine is just one aspect that shows that connecting does not look one way. You know, as soon as you begin to personify the divine, give the divine, not sure if I clarified this in the beginning, but to personify is to give a non-human being human characteristics, right? So now when we do that, we need to understand that relationships are always fluctuating, changing. The divine and your relationship is no different. It's gonna look different. It's not supposed to look the same, you know. And I kind of understand this concept when it comes to how I personally picture the divine, and it's kind of like this one shard of glass, you know, and the divine isn't the glass. The glass is kind of like basically the medium through which we personify the divine, right? And a light passes through the divine, this white light, and basically the rays that come off of that are the different aspects and attributes that we work with when it comes to the divine. You know, and it looks different for everyone, and it looks different because of your cultures, your experiences, and what you're drawn to, you know. So now you ask yourself these questions when you find that relevance, when you find that connection, and when you feel confident within your personification of the divine. Now you're like, okay, how are you helping me with my job? How are you helping me with my family? How are you helping me with my relationships to others and to myself? Because I think a very big part of why we personify the divine is because we want to see not only the divine within ourselves, but ourselves within the divine, you know. We want to be like, yes, what you went through is relevant to me. Like, I feel like, for an example, I'm gonna use an underworld type of goddess, or yeah, Persephone. I feel like I've been taken down to the underworld, and I have to rule, and I have to be the queen, but I can't stay there for long. Changes and cycles and developments are part of my life, so therefore there are times I need to go to the surface. I need to go to my career and really make sure that things are growing, things are changing, things are moving, because Persephone is a spring goddess at the end of the day. So this is just one way of looking at it. But I just wanted to put my 2 cents in the conversation, like, boom. That's my 2 cents. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And like, I'm actually very curious to see if anybody personifies the divine, why you feel you're drawn to personifying the divine, and how it has been relevant to your experience as a human being. Right? So I hope you guys enjoy your day. Hope load shedding, if you're in SA, hope load shedding ain't getting you down, because wow, this load shedding is problematic.